KENS 5 Eyewitness News at 5 starts now.
Dark skies open in spring hailstorms pound South Texas. It is an afternoon of thunderstorms and tornado warnings, and flooding concerns continue along the I-35 corridor. Bill Taylor begins our team weather coverage. Bill?
Deborah, we did have one tornado warning, thankfully just one, and it was a radar indicated one north of the city. And since then, we've been fairly quiet with tornadic and any kind of rotation. These cells have now drifted out of the San Antonio area, and we have more concern off to our south. You can see Campbellton, southern Atascosa County getting some very heavy rain, as well as some lightning, but everything's been pushing off to the south. It picked up its pace. When these storms first started north of us, they were only moving at 10 to 12 miles per hour. Then they picked up their pace through the San Antonio area. So thankfully, the only flood concern was along I-35, and we'll get to that in a moment. But for the most part, we saw this rain move out of the city fast enough that we didn't see too much of a flood threat. But now we still have some very heavy rain that's moving into Tilden, and you can also see Cotulla as well as Freer, and then off to our south and east, Karnes City, Beeville, Victoria, communities that are being impacted by some very heavy rain here. With a little bit more on these watches and warnings and the nuts and bolts on what to expect, Jared Silverman with team coverage from the First Alert Weather Center. Jared?
And Bill, you're definitely right. Things could have been worse. The forward speed picked up, thank goodness for that, and we didn't have training storms either. Now, we do have a few lingering watches and warnings. As we have been watching, the flood advisory that's been in effect for quite some time now for the central part of the viewing area, that includes northern Bear, that's in effect until 6 p.m., then it should be allowed to expire. But then you go a little bit farther down the 35 corridor, down towards Cotulla, that orange box indicating the severe thunderstorm warning. Now that, on the other hand, is going to be here for quite some time, for at least the next 30 to 45 minutes, and that's because Doppler radar actually indicated some quarter-sized to nickel-sized hail already in that area. Of course, that'll continue to lift on out to the south. Meantime, what you see over San Antonio, that's the flood advisory. That will go away by 6 p.m., if not a little bit sooner than that. But the forecast is actually going to be improving for the most part. As you go farther to the south, though, we're going to leave in that 50-50 chance for tonight in the city, 20%, but there are still many lingering chances of rain in the upcoming forecast. Bill's going to talk more about that, but first, our continuing coverage of the storms around the area. Behind me, we have James Keith, and James is live in New Braunfels. James?
Thanks, Jared. Yeah, you know, tubers don't seem to mind water. They don't mind a little bit of rain, but we got a lot of rain here today, and so the tubing businesses had to shut down. I'm going to step aside and let you see what's going on behind me. This is the Comal River, the Calm River, if you will, in New Braunfels, and that's the tube chute completely submerged by water. The roads around here are seeing lots of water, too. This afternoon, I spotted a school bus on the access road of I-35 near Canyon High School, barreling through water that covered the road. A young driver flooded out and was stuck at that same spot until a New Braunfels police officer showed up and helped him out. Now, while first responders will no doubt be watching all the roads, everyone here will also be keeping an eye on the Guadalupe and Comal rivers. So if you plan to float this weekend, make sure you call ahead, make sure those access points are open. Number one, make sure they're safe. That's the latest in New Braunfels. Let's toss it to Jeremy Baker, who's down the road in Seguin. Jeremy.
Yeah, we are just to the east of 1604. We've traveled over to Seguin earlier this afternoon. You can see Highway 10, no problems. Plenty of traffic going on here. No water on the roadways now, but that wasn't the case earlier today. We left the station right around 2:15 in the afternoon as the storms were about to push in. Thankfully, as we traveled down 10 eastward towards Seguin, they weakened below severe weather limits. We went out to where that tornado warning was, just east of Seguin. Didn't see any damage, thankfully. Like Bill said, there was no touchdown. It was just a Doppler-indicated tornado on the radar. But there was some damage to be found. You can see there was a large tree down on FM 464 between highways 10 and 90. So the wind quite strong as those storms moved through, and when they did move through Seguin, they were severe at that time. Thankfully, we haven't heard of too many other reports, possibly a roof damage in Zorn, well to the north of Seguin. We believe Phil and I might be checking that out later on this evening. But here we're looking good. It's a little chilly, but things are drying out. Live on the city's Far East Side, Jeremy Baker, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. As he mentioned, the roads are drying up out there, but we still are seeing a lot of delays across the area. We're starting with this accident, Loop 410 southbound at I-10. We're seeing a major delay in the area. Let's get a live look outside with our TransGuide camera. Right here, our 35 at Benz Eagleman camera is zoomed into this accident. You can see emergency crews on the scene. We're seeing a delay of at least 15, maybe even 20 minutes. And getting another live look outside right now, this is 35 at Rittiman, the frontage road where an 18-wheeler has been hit by a train. We do not have any indication of injuries at this moment. But again, this is 35 southbound at Rittiman, the frontage road. Please avoid the area if possible. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
Okay, Chelsea, thank you. Very busy day today. We have an update on the driver of the truck that crashed into a New Braunfels church van, killing 13. Now, court records released just today show 20-year-old Jack D. Young told officers he had taken prescription pills and was texting and driving at the time of the crash. Only one person on that bus survived the crash.
A former teacher behind bars, what she's accused of doing to one of her students.